Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to our final bit of coverage of the official first annual Texas Monsters and Legends Conference here in Cibolo, Texas. Brad and Barry Kling brothers of Chasing Texas, or Chasing Ghost Texas Style, as well as Ghost Labs, have put on this amazing paranormal event. It's been fantastic. With us in this section, we actually have Nikki Folsom. She is the author of The Haunted Harlequin as well as Conflicted Reality. She gave a great presentation earlier about fairies.
Yes.
I have been wanting to do an episode on fairies for so long. I need to have you on to do a complete conversation on it. But here in the 15 minutes we have, familiarize our audience with a little bit of the panoply that is the Fae, because so many people are familiar with, I mean, we just had St. Patrick's Day, so of course they're familiar with leprechauns, supposedly the ones that were not really desirable by the Fae when they were born, so they were outcast, and that's why they're so curmudgeon-y. But not many people realize how many families of fairies that there are, and the fact that it's not just the one location that has these stories.
Oh, no. I will tell you, there are countless mythologies. And, I mean, folklore could be a culture, it could be a religion, it could be a family. So there are just so many different pieces and parts of the Fae. And, of course, it's up for debate. Whoever you're talking to will give you a different impression. But for anything from mermaids, which huge debate, but that's considered part of the Fae. They're part of the water element, so which is fantastic. I'm fascinated by it just because there are so many creatures within it, the possibilities I was talking about. But there are the elements of that Paracelsus came up with in the 16th century of the earth, air, water, fire, and all of the creatures fit in at least one of these. And one of the examples I gave was of the Nucklavi of Celtic lore. He actually is a sea monster, Fae, but he's also, when he comes on land, he's something completely different. So he falls into earth and water, which is really interesting to me. But everything that you can possibly think of, from elves and gnomes and dwarfs and leprechauns and tree spirits and sylphs, and it just goes on and on and on. The banshee, which is fantastic. I just think there's so many fascinating things, and there's so much misconception about the Fae.
Well, and especially whenever you're talking about lore of banshees, things like that. The actors seem to get a little pigeonholed sometimes. We hear one tradition, and that becomes the predominant, when really there is more than one tradition that are being interwoven together.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest, I don't have the bandwidth in my brain, I don't think anybody does, to be able to hold all the lore in there. But it's just fascinating to me. I thought the leprechaun was Irish, and that was it. I thought that was the only one. Oh, there's like 10 different that I've discovered so far. 10
different versions of leprechauns.
Absolutely.
Just of leprechauns.
Absolutely. And the difference, like the Italian, and I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but the Italian one, he just wears a red hat. That's the only difference. And there are some that there's a little variation to the story where they hoard the gold versus they take you to the gold, the tradition of that. But it's the same thing. I mean, it's similar, but it's just different name.
Yeah. And, in my house, I have his name is Int.
Int, okay.
Int, short for entity. Don't know what it is, but and my wife's been there when it's happened, where I've been talking to her, and I put something down. I walk and I talk and I go back, and the object I put down is physically gone.
Wow.
And about 10 minutes later, after frantically searching and her helping me search, there it is.
Oh, they're pranksters. You made a brownie.
Right back where I put it. And I'm like, you saw it. You saw it. I'm not a crazy person. Like, I know you might think I'm a crazy person when I'm talking about Int out loud, but you've seen it happen now. And it's strange, because when you talk about a lot of these stories, especially when you start going back through village lores, things like that, there really is a lot of people forget the fact that elves were cobblers. They helped you with things. They were very much I guess almost akin to like the Muse in ancient Greece, things like that, where there were spirits all over the place. What you put up on your hearth and what you welcomed into your home was what came and helped you, and
that's exactly right.
Gave you that assistance.
And if you offend them, call them wrong. Well, that's the brownie. You call them the wrong name, but they're all the same. You call them the wrong name. You forget to leave them out, or you forget to leave a reward out for them or an offering out for them. They'll leave. They absolutely will. But the elves, like fairy. Where everybody lumps things into the fairy category. Elves are the same. In other cultures, they call it an elf, and that's just what everything is. It's all these other little creatures.
Well, and even elves fall in the world of the Fae.
They do.
When you're talking about it. And it's fantastically interesting to me how long these traditions have been around. How, especially in the local lores and traditions, they are pretty well unchanged.
Absolutely. Now, you'll find that people won't talk about it. People, that's the most interesting to me is I really want to sit down and have conversations with folks in Ireland or Scotland.
Well, I mean, a prime example of things like that is I'm Cajun myself. You're hard pressed to find an old Cajun and have them point out the traiteur in town. The person that you go to for the hoodoo remedies, things like that out in the woods, that kind of stuff. But there's one. There's one in almost every town.
Absolutely. Always has been.
But you're pretty hard pressed to find that person nowadays. Not that they aren't still there. They just don't talk about it.
They don't talk about it. And what I've found, what I think is interesting, and this is probably everybody's going to scream, but I find it interesting that there's a lot of tie-ins with religion. So that fear that was instilled, I mean...
Oh, absolutely.
It is crazy. And it makes me sad because all the possibilities of things that could have been out there that have been driven into silence. We don't talk about it because it might offend someone. And looking back, going way, way, way back, that's where it all started. It all started when the power was with the medicine women and the cunning folk and the supernatural folks. And then when the power was taken away, it went to the elders or it went to the powers that be. Thank you.
So to speak. It's been interesting to kind of see, I guess, a return of humanity to not necessarily that want to be in nature. There's always been folks who've been out hunting, fishing, hiking. That's never really stopped in humanity. But to see the spiritual attention start kind of turning back the way that it was is pretty remarkable. And to see the attitudes of society changing toward these things now, and for all of you out there like, hey, fairies were proved fake long ago. No. The pictures of fairies that were presented were proved fake.
That's right. That's correct.
It doesn't mean the whole thing's poo-poo. It doesn't mean it's all gone or anything like that. It's right. Because once again, the oral traditions are still there. The cultural traditions are still there.
Absolutely. I that's why it's important to go talk to those folks. And we always didn't, I mean, you heard me talk about this before. When we passed things down orally, when people, they didn't know how to read and write. So the best way
we didn't have a language.
Right. How else are you going to pass it on?
Not a written language anyway.
So that's how they did it. And I'm happy that it's still around. I do think the reason you find people finding their way back to spiritualism and nature is because social media and the 24/7 constant
barrage.
Thank you. It's being exposed that there are gaps. There are gaps. There are pieces that there's no answer to. And the cogs just don't fit. Right. So it's good.
And like we say all the time with Ryan Edwards, King Gerhardt, Lyle Blackburn, all of them, we've had the conversation of evidence, starting with anecdotal, going to scientific, things like that. And the thing that you have to remember is the anecdotal. You've got to start there. And then, of course, like people like Adam Davies say, once I have enough local reports about something, then I start spiraling outward on topics. And is there enough food in the area? Is there enough water? Is there enough shelter?
Yes.
Is there a chance for a breeding population? How wide does the spiral get now? And once I've got enough, 6 points in that spiral, now I've got reason to go actually put foot on the ground and do something.
Yes.
But for science, for even us as people, to take these cultural stories that have been around for sometimes thousands of years and dismiss them, or even outright to dismiss the existence of something like Sasquatch, when, sure, 98 percentile of all evidence points to no. There's 2% that says, pretty good chance. So if you're building a house, do you just leave 2% out?
No.
Do you just leave 2% of a wall?
No.
Totally cool with that. I'll totally buy the house. You did a great job. Don't worry about that 2% of the wall. No. I took shop class, man. That's too big of a crack to fill in. You got to recut that wood and make it fit. So for any science to not investigate the 2%, that to me is like flares in the sky. That's not even alarm bells. You can't leave a 2% remainder.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have been allowed in chemistry class to not represent that 2% loss.
Well,
And
good.
I was just about to say, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the residue.
Thank you. But science was built, that knowledge was built because we discovered things. And if we stop trying to discover, then how do we grow?
Yeah.
How do we grow?
Well,
and I can tell you, with my own eyes, I saw the 3 blue colorful orbs in the Edinburgh vaults. And there were 10, 15 of us in the room, and only 2 of us in the room saw them. And another young guy, a young Scottish guy. And I was like, there's a reason for this. There's nothing wrong with my eyes. Another person witnessed it.
Yeah. well, and even the fact of, if these things live in a different vibrational state, anything like that, that's a big part of what they're looking into in UFO UAP right now, as to literally why 2 out of 3 people in a group can see it and 1 can't.
That's right.
They are in tune to that frequency and the other person is not.
That's right.
And many cases for that. I mean, look all across the animal kingdom. You got a dog, you got a cat. They seeing things that literally you cannot. The spectrum of light that we see is literally a 2% slice of the entire electromagnetic spectrum.
Oh, well, go out and meditate for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Put not blindfold, but an eye mask on, and then take it off and walk outside and watch the different colors.
Yeah. Watch everything before it settles down.
Yeah,
it's pretty incredible.
It is.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for the time on this very, very busy first annual Texas Monsters and Legends Conference. Let everybody know. I mean, we'll, of course, be adding your books to our store online. We're going to have you on for a whole episode very soon.
Awesome.
But let everybody know where they can go to find their copies of The Haunted Harlequin and Conflicted Reality, Nikki.
They are on Amazon, or you can go check me out on conflictedreality.com, and you can see all my upcoming events, and you can go to my books. You can read about me. I have to update the photos, but we've got lots of great stuff.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Having me.
While you're online checking out everything from Nikki Folsom, make sure to stop on by CuriousRealm.com. That's where you can find all the episodes. That's where you can find all the videos. That's where you can find the store. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning into our coverage for the first annual Texas Monsters and Legends Conference. Thank you so much. Keep tuning in. We'll see you soon. Stay curious, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of The Curious Realm. Stay tuned for more guests, forbidden topics, and hidden truths. Download the official Curious Realm app and view the Knowledge Vault on our website, curiousrealm.com. Follow us on social media by searching Curious Realm. Curious Realm is available on your favorite podcast services, as well as YouTube, Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV through the APR TV app, available on all app markets. Curious Realm is a proud member of the HC Universal Network family of podcasts. For more great content or to become a sponsor of Curious Realm or other podcasts, visit hcuniversalnetwork.com today. Thanks for listening. Stay curious. And remember, the other side is always watching.